All right, Commanders family, welcome back to Commanders HQ, where we talk about the team we love, the battles they face, and every move that shapes the future of Washington football. Now, before we jump into today's exclusive roster update, I want to remind everyone that this team, despite all the challenges, the injuries, the frustrations, is working every single day to get better. This locker room is focused on improving, fighting, and building something real for the long term. So if you believe in this team, if you believe in what Adam Peters and Dan Quinn are trying to build here in DC, go ahead and hit that like button right now. It helps the channel grow, helps more Commanders fans find our videos, and keeps this community thriving. Now, let's get into it, because Washington just made 4 roster moves and 1 overturned suspension that could quietly reshape the second half of this season. The Washington Commanders have been hit hard lately. The loss to Seattle wasn't just another bad night, it was a nightmare of injuries. Luke McCaffrey, out for the season. Marshawn Lattimore, torn ACL. Jaden Daniels, dislocated shoulder. This roster is bruised, battered, and running out of bodies. But here's where you start to see the front office at work, adapting, adjusting, and refusing to wave the white flag. On Wednesday, the Commanders officially announced 4 key roster moves aimed at stabilizing both sides of the ball. Wide receiver Treylon Burks promoted from the practice squad to the active roster. DT Sheldon Day promoted from the practice squad to the active roster. CB Trey Hawkins signed to the practice squad. And safety Daryl Worley signed to the practice squad. Let's break this down one by one, because there's a lot of strategy hidden in what looks like routine moves on paper. This one is interesting. Remember Treylon Burks, the former Arkansas star, first team All-SEC in 2021, a guy who was supposed to be a centerpiece for the Tennessee Titans just a few years ago. He was drafted 18th overall in 2022. That's high-end investment for a receiver. But things didn't go as planned in Tennessee. Injuries, inconsistency, and a tough offensive environment derailed what looked like a promising start. Now, at just 25 years old, Burks finds himself with a fresh start in Washington. The Commanders signed him to the practice squad earlier this season after he was released coming off injured reserve. Since then, coaches have been impressed with his work ethic and attitude, and now he's getting his shot. So far, he's appeared in 1 game for the Commanders, catching 1 pass for 14 yards. But the opportunity now is massive. With McCaffrey out and Terry McLaurin drawing constant double teams, Burks has a chance to carve out a real role in this offense. He brings size, physicality, and downfield ability, something this team has been missing. If he can stay healthy and reconnect with that first-round pedigree, this could quietly be one of Adam Peters' smartest reclamation projects of the year. Defensive tackle Sheldon Day is a name NFL fans might recognize. He's been around, played for multiple teams, filled roles in rotations, and earned a reputation as a smart, high-motor interior lineman. Promoting Day gives the Commanders another steady hand on the defensive line, especially now that the front 7 has been inconsistent and struggling to stop the run. At 30 years old, he's not a long-term piece, but what he provides is leadership, reliability, and professionalism. Dan Quinn's defense has been gassed, overworked, and often undisciplined. Day gives them a stabilizer, a guy who can hold his gap, do his job, and help younger players like Johnny Newton develop. This move screams, let's regain control of the trenches. We talked about him earlier this week, but now it's official. Trey Hawkins is a Washington Commander. A 6'3", 195-pound corner out of Old Dominion, Hawkins was a 6th-round pick by the New York Giants in 2023. He started his rookie season strong, even cracked the defensive rotation early, but struggled with consistency and health. He was eventually waived, but not before showing flashes of potential. And this signing makes perfect sense for Washington. With Lattimore done for the year and the secondary leaking big plays, Hawkins brings the exact prototype Quinn likes in his corners: long, rangy, and physical. He's still raw. Don't expect him to step in and lock down #1 receivers tomorrow, But give him time in Quinn's system, and there's a chance this becomes another low-risk, high-reward find by Adam Peters. Next up, Daryl Worley joins the practice squad. Another move that feels subtle, but important. Worley's been around this league for years, including stints in Baltimore and Las Vegas. He's not flashy, but he's experienced. And when you're dealing with constant defensive breakdowns, sometimes what you need isn't elite athleticism, it's stability. He's a guy who can be elevated quickly, knows how to communicate, and won't be caught out of position. Again, it's not about headline-grabbing moves, it's about patching the foundation, one brick at a time. Now, Commanders fans, this next part is huge. Linebacker Frankie Luvu, who we all thought was going to be suspended this week, has officially won his appeal against the NFL. The league had initially planned to suspend him for one game after multiple hip drop tackles, calling it a pattern of dangerous play. Luvu appealed and won. The suspension is gone. Instead, he'll pay $100,000 and will play this Sunday against the Detroit Lions. That's massive for this defense. Yes, Luvu has to clean up his tackling form, and yes, the NFL needs to be consistent in how it enforces those rules across the board. But make no mistake, losing Luvu right now would have been devastating for this defense. Even in a down year, his energy, effort, and leadership are unmatched. He's still the heartbeat of that front seven. And now, after all the chaos of the past few weeks, this team gets one of its emotional leaders back on the field. Let's take a step back. The Commanders are 3-9. Injuries have gutted their core. The playoffs are slipping away. But this week showed something deeper. This organization is still trying. Adam Peters is not folding the tent. Dan Quinn is still experimenting. And the players who are left, like Frankie Luvu, Terry McLaurin, and Jayden Daniels when he returns, are still fighting to finish this thing strong. You can feel the frustration, but you can also feel the pride. Let's start with the facts. Out of all 5 Commanders rookies, none of them made Brugler's official all-rookie team list. Instead, only 2 received honorable mentions, cornerback Trey Amos and running back Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Now, don't get me wrong, that's still a sign of potential. But when your first-round pick doesn't crack the list at all, it does raise eyebrows. And that's where we start. Josh Conerly Jr., the offensive tackle out of Oregon and the 7th lineman selected in the 2025 draft. He came in with high expectations, seen as the future protector of Jayden Daniels, the franchise quarterback this entire rebuild revolves around. But as many of you have seen on Sundays, Conerly's transition hasn't been easy.
He's been asked to switch from left tackle, his natural position, to the right side, and that's a major adjustment for any rookie. Footwork, leverage, hand placement, it's all reversed. Combine that with Washington's still shaky offensive line chemistry, and it's no surprise Conerly has had his ups and downs. Still, what's making fans talk is this. Several tackles drafted after Conerly did make Brugler's list. That stings, because for Peters, who emphasized getting stronger in the trenches, seeing other rookies outperform your top pick halfway through the year will naturally fuel some criticism. Now let's talk about the defense, where things get a bit more encouraging. Cornerback Trey Amos, the late-round rookie out of Alabama, was named an honorable mention for Brugler's all-rookie team. And that's a big deal, folks. This kid was not expected to step into such a big role early in the season. But after injuries hit the secondary, including the devastating ACL tear to Marshawn Lattimore, Amos was thrown into the fire. And what has he done? He's competed, he's held his ground, and in a defense that's still finding its rhythm under Joe Witt Jr., he's shown consistency, something the Commanders have desperately needed. He's not flashy, he's not out there grabbing headlines, but when you turn on the film, Amos is doing the little things right, staying disciplined in coverage, playing physical at the line, and showing real awareness in zone schemes. That's the type of rookie you can build with. It's worth noting that the 2 corners who did make the all-rookie team, Will Johnson from the Cardinals and Noel Williams from the Chiefs, have both been in more stable defensive environments. Amos is doing this amid chaos. That deserves respect. Now, let's give some love to the offensive side again, because there's a real diamond in the rough here. Running back Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt, the 7th-round pick, also got an honorable mention from Brugler. And honestly, it feels like a victory all on its own. This kid has come in hungry. You can see it in his running style. Low pad level, decisive cuts, and that burst when he hits the hole. He's made the most of limited touches behind Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler. And you get the sense that if he keeps developing, he could carve out a real role in this offense going forward. It's stories like Crosby-Merritt's that remind fans what Adam Peters is trying to do. Find value in the margins. Not every hit comes from the 1st or 2nd round. Sometimes your future contributors come from day 3. And Washington may have just found one. Now, here's the reality, Commanders fans. We're halfway through the season. The team sits at 3-9, and yes, the playoff hopes are fading. But this is exactly when we see what kind of foundation is being built. Dane Brugler even said it himself in his article. There is still much to learn about this year's rookie class. This midseason checkpoint isn't the final word. It's just a snapshot. And it's worth remembering that Dan Quinn's system, especially on defense, takes time. If we look back at Quinn's tenure in Dallas, his young defenders flourished more in year 2. Micah Parsons, Deron Bland, and others took huge leaps once they were fully comfortable. The same could easily happen here. And on offense, you can tell that offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury is still experimenting with how to best use his personnel around Jayden Daniels. Once the line settles and Daniels is fully healthy again, Connerly Jr. could absolutely turn a corner. Earlier this week, Coach Dan Quinn made it very clear, this team is not rolling over. In his press conference heading into Week 10, he said, "We're going to finish the season strong. The record won't define us, the fight will." That's what you want to hear, because as frustrated as the fan base might be, there's no quit in this locker room. Guys like Frankie Louvu, Darren Payne, and Jonathan Allen continue to lead by example, demanding accountability. And that attitude is what's going to shape the next era of Commanders football. So yeah, maybe the midseason rookie grades aren't perfect, but they're also not a reason to panic. If anything, they're a wake-up call, a reminder that development is a process, and that sometimes the most important growth happens when nobody's giving you credit. So here's the question I want to throw out to you, Commanders Nation. What do you think of these moves? Are you excited to see Treylon Burks get a real chance? Do you think Trey Hawkins could develop into something under Dan Quinn? And what's your reaction to Frankie Louvu's suspension being overturned? Fair call or just lucky timing? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read as many as I can because your perspective drives this channel. And before we close, if you believe in this rebuild, if you're still riding with this team through the storm, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single Commanders HQ update. Because no matter what happens this season, this community stays strong. We show up, we talk, we believe. Hail to the Commanders, hail to the fans, and I'll see you in the next one. Commanders HQ, out.